Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am so excited that you are joining us today with Dr. Barry. We are going to have her come and talk to us again about some high-profile cases that we are covering. Without further ado, welcome aboard, Dr. Barry. How are you today?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us again. Really appreciated our conversation last time. And we're going to kind of tie a bow on the Isaac Apodaca trial because that did come to a verdict. But we're also going to talk a little bit about Carlos Dominguez because he is in verdict watch right now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Lindsay Clancy, which I know everybody is talking about. And we are looking forward to covering that as well.
Nice.
So do you want to talk about anything high level before we dive into each one individually?
Let's go.
No,
No.
let's just do it. All right. All right. So Isaac Apodaca was just found guilty. Kiera, his girlfriend, on again, off again, girlfriend, fiance, took the stand. And then also there was a forensic psychiatrist, Dr. Michael Wellner, took the stand. Now, he talked about a couple of things which I'd like to dig a little bit deeper in with you. He talked about trauma bonding, coercive control and trafficking, and then violent fantasies and gaslighting. So let's just kind of take that one at a time as it applies to Isaac and Kiera.
Yes.
So trauma bonding, first of all, what is that? And then how did you see that with those two? Did you not see it? What are your impressions?
He did a really good job breaking down exactly what each one of those things were and how it applied to this case. What I really took from his testimony was that their relationship was not healthy, and she because the trauma bonding, the gaslighting, all of it kind of goes together because she questioned her own reality and she would believe whatever he said. And his reality became her reality, and she became dependent on him in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And he used that control to keep her doing things even when everything around her, her mom, everybody would say, he's not good for you. And the connection that they had, I don't view that as real love, because my view of love is we don't hurt each other. We don't have each other do things that are not good for each other, because it was really all about him. Because at one point he was having her do adult work. So, and he was according to her testimony, he was keeping most, if not all, of the money. And that meant he didn't have to work. And she never questioned that to say, why am I out here? And he could be working himself. Like she never questioned it. And yeah.
So that kind of goes into the coercive control and the trafficking, that kind of work, and the gaslighting. So according to Dr. Wellner, Isaac was gaslighting Kiera specifically by telling her, I saw this video of you and this other person, Grace, was collecting money while you're getting assaulted by 16 men. And she believed that, even though there was no evidence of that. The police did an investigation and there was nothing that came out of that. So do you agree with that? Like, do you think that was accurate?
And once again, that's distorting reality. So, and she went with his version. And she kind of talked about this spiritual thing that we did not dive into. I don't know where that falls. That because a lot of us have kind of speculated, how did he know that thing from her past, her dark secret that nobody knew? And she didn't even say it on the stand. Right. And I wonder if he was good at reading people, and if he said something to the effect of, I know there's something from your history that you're ashamed of. And then as she's reacting and he's reading her, if he kind of figured out what it was versus truly having this intuitive knowledge of something about her.
She called him the archangel. She thought he was the archangel. She saw him in the mirrors, she said, when she was in jail. She said she saw Grace's ghost. I'm not going to discount any of that because that's her reality, not mine. But it is interesting that he was able, like you said, maybe he was able to pick up on things but who planted in her mind that it was Grace that did it, and there
Him.
were 16 men involved,
Him.
and Grace was collecting money? Like, I wonder how that all, came about.
But I think that was a way to control her, to have
Mhm.
her and Grace not be friends. Do you know
Right.
what I mean? Because
Sure.
maybe Grace would have warned her, like, "Hey, be careful with it." I don't know what
Mhm.
his relationship was, but sometimes people that are doing coercive control, they often try to isolate the person where they're
Mhm.
not. Because even the moving from the house to that garage, because she
Right.
mentioned during her testimony that he mentioned something to the effect of they needed to be further from her mom or something. Like there was some reason
Mhm.
behind that. And to
Mhm.
me, it felt like isolation.
Right. Right. And just a quick reminder, Chad, if you have any questions for, for, for Dr. Barry, please do a QQQ. You guys know the deal by now. Put a QQQ in front of it so I can see it, and we'll pull it up in a little bit. Um, yeah, I thought some of the really great points. So let's see, let me just read this through. Isaac was gaslighting Kara about that. She believed he was reinforcing it by saying he saw videos on the dark web. Grace orchestrated using a dull knife, cuts like butter. She'll die instantly. I'll burn all the mess. I'll buy a new bed. All this stuff just kind of reinforced how he was controlling her, which I thought was like when asked, instead of just saying one or two things, the doctor just kept going on and on and on about these things. And I think that really helped the jury connect those dots to be like, oh, yeah, we heard that in testimony. And oh, yeah, now you're saying it. And oh, yeah, now you're saying this is coercive control. That I thought was really good.
And I wonder if his message, because we don't know why, like what was most impactful to the jury, because there were times where the expert seemed to be over for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
I like it when experts come off just providing the information and they don't seem like they're too far on anybody's side. Where
Mm-hmm.
even so, when the defense asks, "Well, is it possible?" Where they're like, "Yes, that's possible," and then on redirect they clean it up. Do you know? Like
Right.
he wasn't giving the defense like anything, like any question they asked, he was answering what he wanted to ask and not necessarily the question that was asked. Like
Mm-hmm.
he was directly told say yes or no. And so I wasn't sure if the jury would find him less credible because of any of that, but they convicted Isaac on all counts. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a great point because that rolls into we did two polls. I did one
Mhm.
poll before Dr. Wellner testified. And who is the star witness for the state? So 56% of our community out of 316 votes, 56% said Sergeant Vigil and Isaac's interview. And then only 3% said, and I didn't even know his name at that point, I just said forensic psychiatrist. So then after Dr. Wellner testified, so still Sergeant Vigil was top. So and Isaac's interview, because I think that was pretty important. So it went from 56 to 49%, but Dr. Wellner went from 3% being the star witness to 30% being the star witness. And Kiara went from 39 to 20%. So what do you make of that?
I thought his testimony, it just helped answer that question. How could somebody get another person to do what she did?
Mm-hmm.
And it really helped answer that because he got her to continue doing adult work after she had trauma. He had her do all of these things, and he was instigating her.
Mm-hmm.
That she even told him, like, if you want me to do this, you need to make me more mad. And
Right.
he kept riling her up. And he tried to deny, like, to minimize those things. Oh, we weren't talking about that. We were talking about something else, but none of his excuses really made any sense at all. Because
Yeah.
even in his conversation with his mom, to me, it sounded like he was trying to come off poor me, but still trying to control the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Agreed, 100%. And also, I think we touched upon this. I hope we did, and if not, I'm thinking about about something else. Kara was no saint. She
Mm,
was in her text. She was just as controlling. She's like, "Don't be don't curse word
yes.
at him. Man up, basically." So she was giving it not as good as Isaac because he clearly was controlling her to the point where she's selling her body, but she was definitely throwing it back in his face of like, man up, you're not treating me right, all this kind of stuff. So again, toxic relationship, those two. we're feeding off of each other in a negative way. And I think what do you think about mom? Because there's some people that are asking about. I'm going to pull this one up. Let's get to some questions because I think this is a good one. Straight away, what do you think about the mom? Why? How come the mom allowed? It was Lanny. How come Lanny allowed him to stay in the house after knowing what he had done to her daughter?
But I wonder if she didn't want to lose her daughter. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like if her mom didn't give them a place to stay, I think he could have made more appointments for her because he was controlling the appointments, saying you have this many dates tonight,
Hmm.
and at least her mom like knew where she was at night. Like so,
Right.
I could see that possibly being a part of it. I think if her mom had kicked, because that's where if I was the mom, I would have kicked him out, and if she
Hmm.
decided to go, okay. No, you can always come back, but he can't.
Hmm.
I love you. But I think the mom was worried about like losing her potentially about
Sure.
losing her daughter. Yeah.
Well, Kiera did use that manipulative tactic of you kick him out, I'm going to
Right.
be on the streets with him. I'm going with him, and we'll be on the streets. And thanks a lot, mom. That kind of thing. So, what's a mom to do? What would you do? I think that's a good point. What you just said. He's not welcome. You are always welcome. If you need a place to stay, hot meal, hot shower, you can always come back, but do not bring him.
Yeah.
So. All right, let's check this one out. Katrina Bunny, what do you make of Isaac signing the paper for his phone to be searched? Do you think he thought that he could talk his way out of it?
Because she did the thing. Because
Mhm.
I think he was going to say he didn't do anything and that he had an excuse in his mind for every single message. So the criminals that think they're really, really smart, that think they can outsmart everybody, that they've planned this in a perfect way,
Mhm.
they because he tried to say there was a second phone in
Mhm.
the house and she used that to send those messages and he didn't. he
Right.
he tried, and
Right.
the jury didn't buy that.
Yeah, and the defense used that. We're trying to use that against Detective Vigil about
Mhm.
is that a tactic? If you give me consent, you'll get your phone back straight away. If you don't give me consent, you won't get it back for 6 months to a year. To a
Yeah.
26, 7-year old, I'm sure, or actually to anybody, to be quite honest, in this day and age, I'd be like, well, damn, I don't want to give my phone away
And I
for
think
6 months.
I think he was trying to be the hero. Like, he was
Yeah.
trying to be, "Oh my gosh, I reported I can't believe she did this horrible thing. I had nothing to do with it." I don't think he thought he would be arrested. Or if he
Mhm.
did, I think he thought he could talk his way out of it
Right.
because his prints weren't on like, I think he thought he had thought everything through,
Mhm.
and this was 20 so now we know how much is on our phones, and back in 2022, I didn't follow true crime as much back then.
Mhm.
I we always know that phone data can come in, but I honestly think he thought he was smarter, and
Mhm.
he could talk and control anything or anybody.
Oh, I agree. I agree. He came across to me as a cult leader in the making, and I could see him if they didn't get caught on this,
Mhm.
he could have continued on, and
Yeah.
then because he already was saying he took out 40 people. That's what he was telling Kiara. I could see them like if they had taken Grace to the tunnels, right? That's what they originally wanted to do, and nobody found her for a year, 2 years, whatever it was. I could see them manipulating and doing something to somebody else. You know, did you ever get why it was Grace? I never quite put my finger on that. Like
I
why
think
Grace?
I don't know why he targeted her,
Mhm.
and I don't know who broke up with who because they like Isaac and Grace did date at some point. Like I don't know what happened in that dynamic.
Mhm. Right, was he dumped by Grace, so he had this jealousy? Was she like the one that broke his heart? Because we all have that,
And
and he couldn't
and
get
he
over it.
he might be so sadistic that it
Mhm.
was just finding somebody because finding the person closest to Kiara.
Mhm.
Because Kiara considered before he got in there, even though her and Grace weren't close at that time, she considered Grace to be somebody that she loved and once cared
Mhm.
about.
Yeah.
So it's once again isolating her more, that
Right.
I'm the only one that cares about you. I'm the only one that has your best interest at heart.
Right. I don't want to give him any credit
Yeah.
whatsoever, but I'm going to give him this caveat. He was smart enough, or he was perceptive enough to realize what you just said, because I think that's pretty valid, and then also to recognize that Kara was manipulatable,
Yeah.
and that he was able to manipulate her, and and that takes a certain level of intelligence, a certain level of you know whatever it is. So he's not just sitting watching TV, drinking beer all day. I mean, he's literally manipulating Kiara, probably manipulating other people in his life, whatever it is. So I'll give him that, but I really don't want to. um, all right, let's see. I think I know we have limited time, so I just want to we can cruise on to the next. I just want to quickly get Mama of a Medic. When is her sentencing? It hasn't been set yet, and but we'll keep an eye out for that. And if it is streamed, we will stream it. So don't worry about that. All right. So chat, we're going to do. Is there anything else you want to say before we move on to Carlos?
Uh, let's move on to Carlos. We're
Okay.
good.
All right.
Hmm?
Isaac is going away for a long time. Kara is going away for 30 years. That's the upshot of all of that. All right. So, Carlos, if you guys were with us earlier today, we were watching the experts on the defense side testify. The both parties rested on Thursday, and the jury is deliberating. As of 2:20 local time, they started to deliberate on Thursday. They set their own schedule, so we have no idea if they're going 9 to 5, 10 to 6, 10 to 2, 12 to 1. I have no idea. All I know is they started to deliberate Thursday at 2:20. So, in the meantime, what we're doing is we watched the state present, key witnesses there, key evidence, key witnesses, and then we did Carlos's family, which was his dad, his sister, and then his second cousin. And there were some really interesting things that came out of there. Did you happen to catch on his mom's side? Did you happen to catch any of that? And if not, it's
Not,
okay.
I think last trial, not
Okay.
not this trial.
Okay. So his dad's sister has epilepsy,
Okay.
and her and his mother, this is Carlos's dad. So his aunt and his grandmother in El Salvador. I think his grandmother's taking care of his aunt, and she has epilepsy, and I think she might have some other mental illness that they didn't quite mention. So defense is trying to tie in the genetic, connection there.
Component. Okay.
And then, so that's on his dad's side. Then on his mom's side, the second cousin came in. So it was um, mom and first cousin. So it was Carlos, the second cousin. And he testified that mom, Carla is the mom's name, that there was never, there was always some kind of crisis. It was always chaotic whenever they got together. There was specifically, they went to Las Vegas as a group. He rented this huge Mercedes Sprinter van. There was like 20 people in the van. And at dinner, Carla had a moment where the men were sitting with the men, women were sitting with the women. She wanted to sit with her husband, and that was a huge deal. She sat in the room the rest of the trip. Then driving home, she apparently tried to grab the wheel because she wanted to kill everybody in the van. So the defense is saying now on both sides. Now again, no one has been diagnosed other than his aunt on his dad's side, but Carla was never diagnosed. But the defense is trying to show, mom's got a history of at least anger issues or something's going on there.
Okay.
So that's kind of the backdrop of that.
Okay.
So with all of that, that was the family testifying. Then today we did the experts. So we brought in all psychiatrists. I wanted to play a psychologist, but I didn't get to. I just ran out of time. So we had a social worker. We had everybody testified from the first trial. So there was really nothing new other than the whole cannabis use. And Dr. Weiner brought in so Carlos met 4 out of 12 criteria for cannabis use, and that put him in the moderate range. Yeah. So once again, the defense is saying his cannabis use was not a cause of this. So where do you stand with that?
So I think even the state had somebody, so cannabis use, so somebody's psychotic, you're going to recommend that they have to get stable, that they not use that substance. and so it likely didn't help anything, and
Mhm.
it likely made and so, but he does have schizophrenia, like
Mhm.
that is one of his diagnoses. But a person can have a diagnosis, and the state still feel that they should be held criminally responsible, and that's where our conversation about, what should we do in cases where we know mental health played a significant role, and where do you kind of go from there?
Right. Um, that's a great point because we will touch upon this now.
Yeah,
I did some research.
yeah,
Uncle Google helped me, but these are from reputable places. This is
yes,
from let me see if I have my citations. National Alliance
yeah,
on Medical Health Treatment While Incarcerated. So I mean, these this isn't
mhm,
it's not seventh grade. My cousin's uncle's nephew. All right, over 40% of incarcerated individuals have a diagnosed mental illness, yet nearly 63%, so 40% so 40% of somebody who's locked up has a mental illness, and 63% of them receive no formal mental health treatment.
mhm.
All right. Then you have 15 to 20% are diagnosed with a serious mental illness or SMI, such as schizophrenia, bipolar, or major depression. So we kind of touched upon this, I think, in the last stream about prisons. Unfortunately, have just become this de facto, mental facility. What can we do? Well, first of all, do you agree with those? Have you heard the same numbers? And then second, like, what can we do as a society to be like, we have to do something to help these people?
And there is information from NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness,
Mhm.
and people who have mental health conditions deserve access to quality mental health treatment. But there are things that get in the way of that, and so
Mhm.
sometimes it can be staffing. Sometimes it can be a lot of different things, and mental illness can be, trauma, ADHD, substance issues. It can be a variety of things,
Mhm.
and somebody can have a mental illness and still be appropriate for prison, I think. And so
Mhm.
there are some states that have guilty but mentally ill, where the person is able to receive mental health treatment first and then complete their sentence in the jail setting, because it's helpful to the jail setting to not have people that are actively psychotic, to have people that are like, because there can be additional issues that happen in jail if you have people that
See.
are not safe for to themselves, to others.
Right.
And so I do hope that more states, because it's really hard to be found not guilty by reason of insanity. I
Right.
think it's less than 1% of the people that attempt the defense actually are found not guilty by reason of insanity. It does happen, but I think it's rare. I think more people attempt it than and in Carlos's situation, the difficult thing is I think he was in denial about his diagnosis, and that he was delusional and disconnected from reality.
Mhm.
Now the legal question is, did he understand that what he was doing was wrong? And
Right.
I think he would say he thought they were shadows. He didn't think they were people. Like
Mhm.
I think that's what he thought, he was attacking the shadows. And I don't know what the jury's going to do. I think it's interesting that they've still been deliberating since Thursday. I think that's interesting.
Well, we have breaking news. Nosy Rosie, the channel just
Oh,
called
verdict.
me. Yeah, verdict is in.
All right.
So I am looking on KCRA and nothing has
Okay.
come in yet.
Okay.
So do you want to watch it if it comes in
Yes.
before? Okay. All
Yes.
right. If I can find it and it comes in, we will watch it live here, guys. If
Sounds
not,
good.
oh, okay, hold on. Okay, that's a mistrial reaction, not that. All right, so guys, we will keep an eye out for it. All right.
Looks like, yeah. So it looks like it might be live at 7. That's what it
Okay.
looks like,
All right.
according to the chat.
So
The
you're
chat
seeing
is
that
always the best.
live at 7. Okay. 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 All right, guys. Thank you for that. All right. In the meantime, Let me see here. Okay.
And I can stay on until 7:30 if they're I can stay on a little bit later. My
Okay.
child might just and I'll tell my child, "We're give me 15 minutes."
Sorry, kiddo.
Just 15 minutes.
YouTube matters more.
No, no. He had a snack. Like, it's
Sorry.
just we're just yes.
I'm just kidding. We love all children here. We are we're not gonna say that. All right, let's see. Let me go back to Carlos. Okay, so another question that I had was the coming in and out of psychosis. So I thought that was a really big thing, like rational thoughts, and this kind of plays into Lindsay Clancy as well. Like, how can you take out three of your children? How can, as a Carlos, he's making beats on his computer. He's one day he's stabbing David Bro, and then he comes home and he goes about his life. And then the next day he's stabbing Kareem, and then the next he goes about his life. Then the next day he's stabbing Kimberly. Like, how? Please explain that to me and then to our community. Like, is it possible for somebody to come in and out of a psychosis and not remember what they did, or remember and it's like a dream, or like what's your impression on that?
So, somebody that is actively psychotic,
Mhm,
they are disconnected from reality, and there can be different severities. So, it can be mild, where a person might just hear a voice calling their name. It can be moderate, where they might have auditory hallucinations, or they might be paranoid. There might be some delusions, or it can be severe, where a person is having command auditory hallucinations. And if somebody is hearing a voice telling them to do something, we almost always recommend hospitalization
mhm,
because people have literally like harmed themselves, harmed other people because of that type of command voice. That
mhm,
we don't play with that, because if the person loses connection with reality, they can act in that state, and nobody knows like where they really are besides them.
mhm,
And there were other situations where you see the person still in the active psychosis and they have it on the body cam, and you see that this person is completely disconnected from reality. They don't understand what they've actually done, and
mhm,
often once they become stable, they can really be depressed. It reminds
mhm,
me of the Andrea Yates case.
mhm,
Similar case to the Lindsay Clancy, where she has decided, like, she's been eligible for parole, or like to be released from the psych hospital, and she does not want to be.
mhm.
She believes that she's exactly where she needs to be, and I think, and I wonder if there's a part of her that knows that she's safer and others are safer with her having that regular care, with her having treatment, with her being in that in that place.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Just so you know, and just so chat knows, we are watching the feed from court. We do not have permission to show that, but
Okay,
we will at least know they when that kicks in.
awesome.
On KCRA, they're showing the K Street shooting mistrial reaction.
Okay.
So those are the two sources that I have. Um, so just to update you and to update our communities. So until something kicks in, just take a deep breath, everybody.
Mhm.
We are on it. Don't worry, we are on it. Um, okay, so yeah, that's a really good point. I'm fascinated by that because I was watching Defense Diaries yesterday. Shout out to Bob and Allie. That they were getting ready for Lindsay Clancy, and Bob was talking about, you know, just because you're diagnosed with schizophrenia or any kind of psychosis or mental illness doesn't mean you're like and I'm paraphrasing Bob, sorry, doesn't mean you're bulging eyes and you're drooling and you're doing all this the whole time. And I think that's a really huge misperception. And I had it too. Not that I thought that I didn't go to that extreme, but I'm like, yeah, how do you know
And
that?
And
Go
a
ahead.
person can be in a psychotic state and
Mhm.
still be held criminally responsible. And
Right.
so I've covered those cases. There's a case out of South Carolina, really sad case, where uh a mother did, but like she was in a cult,
Mhm.
and the cult didn't believe in medicine, didn't believe in mental health,
Mhm.
and in that state she harmed herself and her child. She
Mm-hmm.
survived, and a jury found her guilty, even though
Mm-hmm.
the state experts all said yes, she could, like, she didn't understand what was da, da, da. But there were messages,
Mm-hmm.
there were these other things that I think the jury considered, and we leave this up to a jury. Like, it's up to, like, the
Right.
it's not left up to medical professionals. The
Mm-hmm.
medical professionals provide their opinion, but it's up to the jury to interpret the law, which is
Right.
because there can be bias
Right.
that comes into that. Um, because
And
sometimes people are like, how could a mother ever do that to their child? No matter,
right.
so people can have their own bias.
Right. Well, that's this whole Lindsay Clancy thing is going to be like, how could a mother do that to three of her children? And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to be able to wrap your head around that. But I think we just have to, for those that are going to watch it, I just say just be as open as possible as you can. I know we all come in with our biases and all that stuff, but I'm gonna take what Bob said to heart last night. I'm gonna go into this as open minded as possible, and I'm going to try and figure out what was going on with her, just like with Carlos. I went into it last year. I wasn't really on any team last year with Carlos, but after watching that first trial and hearing just expert after expert after expert, and then the thing that really got me was like, okay, if you think he's malingering, try to pretend you're schizophrenic for even just a day, let alone a week, let alone a month, let alone 6 months. And to me, I challenge myself to that. I'm like, yeah, I couldn't even remotely do that. I can't imagine somebody wanting to not take a bath for weeks on end, having snot drip out his nose for an entire session. Yeah.
And not being aware
Yeah.
of, like, so there being a lack of awareness. So
Hmm.
I've worked with individuals that are diagnosed with schizophrenia. I actively work with individuals with that diagnosis. uh, the difference between when they're on medication and when they're not is huge. And when they are not stable, that's where often, because sometimes it's the meds that have to be adjusted.
Hmm.
And because some people, they come off their meds because they think, oh, I'm fine now, and not
Hmm.
realizing that this isn't something that somebody grows out of. I thought the
Right.
expert that went over just the fact that with a schizophrenia diagnosis, the individual will need to stay on medication. And if they
Hmm.
ever come off of it, they can actually get worse. Like, it can actually be
Hmm.
harder to stabilize them the
Hmm.
next time if they come off of their medication.
Now that might play into the
Yeah.
Lindsay trial, right? And we'll kind of blur lines at this
Yes.
point.
Yes.
Because I have a lot of questions in the back end here, and I want to pull those up. But Lindsay, apparently, like 13 medications she was on. She had seen
So she
multiple
wasn't
doctors.
actively on 13, she had been switched.
Okay.
So, was initially placed on Zoloft, I believe,
Hmm.
and then she had a really, like, she couldn't sleep. It may have triggered mania. So if
Hmm.
she is currently diagnosed with bipolar disorder, with with, prescribing an SSRI, a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, they have to be careful to get a good family history of, is there any family history of bipolar disorder? Because
Hmm.
if there is, we have to watch out for mania.
Hmm.
And because once she had the negative reaction to Zoloft, I want to say they placed her on a different SSRI instead of like doing something else.
Hmm.
Like, and she just kept getting worse with every medication change. My heart breaks for that family because she was actively trying to get help. And the father, her husband, I feel like I heard somewhere he got remarried. I don't know if that's true, but her husband, he filed a lawsuit against the providers, um, because feeling like that her care was failed. And because they attempted to hospitalize her, they attempted to get her into programs,
Hmm.
and they attempted to maintain her at home. And so that's where I want to say high functioning depression can sometimes be a, because the person might be able to work still, a person might be able, but just because the person is high functioning doesn't necessarily mean that they are safe and stable.
Hmm.
And so, because sometimes we think high functioning depression, but because she was a nurse, and I wonder if they were, I don't know if people were treating her different because she was in the medical profession, but at that point,
Mhm.
I think she wasn't working because
Mhm.
she was not stable, and everybody was aware of it. Um, yeah. So I've done safety plans with clients that have severe postpartum depression,
Mhm.
where a part of our safety plan is that they are not left alone with the children until
Mhm.
they're no longer having either thoughts to harm others, thoughts to harm themselves, if they're having thoughts about harming the baby. Like
Mhm.
sometimes with severe postpartum, especially postpartum psychosis,
Mhm.
sometimes a person will get and their intrusive thoughts, it might be command auditory hallucinations. A
Mhm.
person can um, end up being a risk, a danger to themselves and others.
Mhm. So obviously, um, schizophrenia or mental illness does have a genetic
Yeah.
predisposition. Postpartum depression, that is that, and please don't jump on me because I'm a male.
You're
I'm
good.
asking a stupid question here.
No, no.
Is that has nothing to do with genetics, or does it?
So that's where somebody would work with their psychiatrist and sometimes their gynecologist. So I've had some clients where it was their hormones and
Mhm.
really them getting and so medication and stabilizing hormones. There is a new postpartum medication that people can research. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't
Mhm.
even want to mention the name of it, but
Mhm.
there is a new where somebody, I think they take it for 7 days or something, and there
Mhm.
have been some studies that have come out that have been really positive with this new medication.
Mhm.
And but often a therapist or the gynecologist is the person that hears about it first.
Okay.
After I had our child, I was screened because they were constantly asking me for the first year about my mood as well, and they billed
Mhm.
us for it too. Like I was like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, why am I? But I was given a screener at the
Mhm.
pediatrician's office because they wanted to make sure that because sometimes the person might meet with the pediatrician before they meet with the gynecologist, and so yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So Heidi asks, today someone said that even in a psychosis, people are responsible for what they do. Could that be true? I think you kind of touched upon that. You can be held liable for it, even though.
So it's, did you understand the
Mhm.
wrongfulness of your act? So
Mhm.
even in a psychotic state, a person might run from the police, and that
Mhm.
can sometimes be looked at as a like consciousness of guilt
Mhm.
or and so like, did you understand? Because legally that's what insanity is
Right.
that a person did not understand. So the person truly thought doing this was saving their children, and they were, like there's normally something very specific
Right.
that fits that criteria in a very, very small percentage of cases.
Now, Carlos did not run from law enforcement, but Lindsay tried to take her own life. So, kind of two different things there, right? I mean,
And I wonder if the jury will have some sympathy. I don't know, but like I wonder because she is forever physically injured.
right.
Like she's in a wheelchair
Yeah.
for the rest of her life because of all of this. I don't know how what, but um red rum someone else is, or sorry, yeah, is still illegal. Like you're not supposed to do something to so that's where the jury is, it's going to be up to a jury.
Mhm.
I'm really interested to hear what experts the defense has. I think they're going to bring up her treating providers. They're likely going to question um like if she's talking about staying up all night, like those are classic signs of possible mania.
Mhm.
Why would you keep her on a SSRI? Like that's a
Mhm.
legit, that's a legit question
Right.
to be asked. And so um uh it'll be interesting to see. It's really sad that sometimes people get the care they can afford and not the
Mhm.
care that they need. And
Yeah.
so adults being hospitalized can sometimes, and sometimes people are trying to avoid, like, because being in a hospital is not a walk in the park. Like that is
Mhm.
people can sometimes get worse when they're away from their family, when they're in a hospital setting.
Mhm.
um I I don't know if her husband really realized that she had that could have happened, you know?
Mhm.
And so no matter how good of a person, like if somebody is experiencing postpartum psychosis, to take that seriously. Baby blues is different from postpartum depression. So
Mhm.
sometimes after having birth, like a person will, because you're not sleeping well, like you're adjusting to everything. Sometimes a person will kind of get baby blues. Some people will get postpartum anxiety or depression. I've also worked with clients that while they were pregnant, they also experienced significant mood changes as well. But yeah,
Gotcha. I'm sorry. I'm just
you're good.
reading an article.
Yeah.
We await details of the verdict, which will be read no later than 3:15. That's local time.
Okay.
That would be 6:15. So we're well past that.
Yeah.
But that was updated. Sorry, hold on.
You're good. Yeah. I agree, Afton. And I also just wanted to answer the question real quick about if
Sure.
I've ever testified in court. So
Mhm.
I am a clinical psychologist, not a forensic psychologist, meaning I focus on treatment. So sometimes people that I've been treating have been involved with family court. So I've testified as an expert in clinical and child psychology, and I think trauma in different court systems within Virginia as both a fact witness, just saying what I observed and what I saw. And
Mhm.
then once I was licensed, I've testified as an expert witness as well. But it's
Nice.
mostly been in family court.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so actually, let me get to a few more questions here. We've been kind of talking about this but JMS, can you be mentally ill and still plan a crime with premeditation?
So sometimes it's more impulsive.
Mhm.
I don't know, because sometimes it's like an impulsive act. But the premeditation part would make most psychologists think that
Mhm.
it's not an active mental state. So
Mhm.
Letitia Stout, she's going to attempt an insanity defense, I believe, if she does
Mhm.
get that new trial. But
Mhm.
she did a crime and then covered it for like she drove that, all these miles and did
Yeah.
all these other things, and she's
Mhm.
trying to say that she's in this continuous psychotic state, and that's
Mhm.
not, while her daughter is seeing her and she's looking normal, talking normal, everything, see, like her daughter had no idea what was going on. And
Right.
so when there's premeditation,
Mhm.
but what's more likely to happen is that it's more impulsive. That's
Mhm.
what I've seen personally.
Meanwhile, Gannon, right? Was that the child's name? Gannon, I believe. He's in the back of the station wagon, right? In the suitcase. Wasn't he like yeah, I mean, how do you how do you do that? How do you justify that as a
And
normal
that's
person?
where it
You
sounds
know?
like you're trying to get away with a crime and
Yeah.
not like you're disconnected from reality. Like you seem to very
Right.
much understand that what you're doing, from my personal, like not court involved with this case at all, but
Mhm.
I think she'll likely be convicted again if she does get another trial.
Mhm. We shall see. We'll cover that.
Mhm.
So Nosy Rosie asked a question in the stream earlier, and I said I would bring this up. So if Carlos doesn't have family support, would that make it difficult for him for one day to be released? So how does that work? So you go into a facility, you do your time, you go through treatment, all this
And
stuff.
sometimes it's like 20 to 30 years, or
Sure,
sometimes it's never being released.
absolutely, absolutely, and especially taking out two people and trying to take out a third person. I don't see him ever getting out, but that's just I don't ever see that happening. But let's just say somebody maybe got in a fight. You maybe punched somebody and put them in the hospital, but they survived, and then that person is deemed, not guilty, reason of insanity, and they spend 5 years, let's just say. So, not having a family structure, not having family and friends, does that hurt? I would think it would hurt.
So
Like, how does that play?
sometimes they step down to a group home. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't go straight to family. Like
Mm-hmm.
some people, especially if they lack family support, some people might stay in a group home setting. Because you're going from the state hospital. The state hospital is the forensic unit, is the highest level of care. So somebody found not guilty by reason of insanity, they're not going to the typical ward in most states, at least in Virginia. They are going to like the forensic unit of a state hospital where they're receiving treatment, receiving medication management, and if they ever are released, there are conditions for their release, and if they violate those conditions, they can be either have jail sentence or potentially come back to the state hospital, because that happened in the Slender Man, in
Morgan
that
Geyser.
case.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Here's a great question from Debbie, and I looked this up earlier, but I want to see what you think about this. So, if Carlos is found guilty, can he get the right treatment he needs in prison?
And so that's where,
two, yeah,
even in prison, people have the right to decline treatment. So if he wants to continue to receive treatment, now people can be ordered by the doctor, because if they're harming themselves, harming other people, they can be administered medication against their will. But if he is in the regular prison setting, he would have to want to continue to be on medication. And that's where, when they're housed at that, when they're assigning them to a prison, they are going to try to make sure that he has the support, like that he's at a place where he could continue to receive medication management, that maybe there's therapy available. And therapy, it's not going to be every day, or it's not going to be, he would have more therapy in a hospital setting than in a prison setting. And in a prison setting, so I have friends that have done forensic rotations in state hospitals. They check in on clients sometimes once a day, but depending on what the client's needs are. But on the regular jail side, you might check in with your caseload once a week, unless they ask for you. On the NGRI, not guilty by reason of insanity, on that side, you're normally getting a check-in every day. You're receiving group therapy. You're receiving a lot more support.
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree with that. From my own limited research, that jails are more, well, they're punitive. You're there to be punished, whereas a state facility, you're trying to be rehabilitated. So to your point, where you might get checked in once a week, you're going to fall through the cracks. Whereas if you're in a state facility, you're going to be going to group therapy. You're going to have individual therapy. You're going to be in an environment where people theoretically care about your rehabilitation, versus you're just there to be punished, sit in your cell, blah, that kind of stuff. So, all right. We are still keeping an eye out for, we actually know the outcome, but we won't say it until, when are we going to say it? We're going to hold off.
No.
We'll hold off, because we want to see if we can get a stream. Unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I guess there was another shooting, and there was a mistrial, K Street, Sacramento K Street mistrial. So they're streaming that live right now, but we do see that the verdict has been reached, but we'll deal with that in a second. All right. So I think that kind of goes, that finishes my thoughts with Carlos. Did we talk about the one comment that was in our community today? We didn't talk. Okay. I want to address that with you, because we talked about that before we came on. So everybody's allowed their opinion. Not going to, that's all fine. But how do we address, how do we address this? How do we educate people? How do we, I guess, just address this position? Because a lot of people feel this way. We had a poll, 125 people voted. 38% said guilty on all counts. 62% said not guilty. So that's, clearly the majority was not guilty, but still 38%. That's quite a lot. So we had somebody in our chat today said, Carlos clearly guilty on all events. He thought, he acted, he followed through. He needs to be sent to prison. He can deal with himself there. So what would you say? How do we address that position? How do we deal with that?
And then, so as we watch true crime, and that's why I use my channel to help educate people on mental health. I wish that Carlos had recognized that he was prodromal. I wish his family had realized. And I've worked with refugees from El Salvador, and regular mental health treatment, because sometimes culturally you're dealing with culturally, sometimes people are like, there's nothing wrong with you, or we do these other things to manage. And so with mental health, making sure that mental health is reaching populations that need it, that people aren't falling through the cracks. Because it sounds like before he started to not go to school regularly, and before that, he was very intelligent,
Mhm.
and that there was a change. And I don't think, because often the person with schizophrenia, they are not going to realize that they need help,
Right.
and family, friends, people around them, because sometimes they isolate too, where they kind of start to withdraw from family and friends. And so I wish that people had stepped up sooner. And I also want to say that the majority of people with mental health diagnoses don't do crimes.
Mhm.
That while, yes, there is a large, that mental health does represent a large part of the prison population, that often individuals are more likely to be a victim of a crime than to actually do one. Because sometimes there can be a stigma connected to mental health, or people
Mhm.
can be like, I don't want to admit that these things are going on. And I wish that he had received treatment in advance, and that all of this never happened. It's going to be
Mhm.
up to the jury. And so that's where whatever the jury decides, because even the person that made the comment, they might not have watched every moment, they might not have seen every expert that's
Mhm.
testified. The jury
Right.
has had this case for, has it been 4 weeks, 5 weeks?
Something like that, all
Yeah.
through July. Yeah, and I think it started before that. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
I can definitely, yeah, I can check in a second to see when they started, but it's been a while. It's definitely been a
mhm.
while. Racer Girl asks, this would be Lindsay Clancy. Do you think she's medicated now? She hardly blinks and looks straight forward during the better part of her proceedings. Do you think? Yeah.
She likely is receiving, especially with doing a not guilty by reason of insanity defense.
Hmm.
Often individuals, because their treatment, if they're incarcerated, that treatment becomes, because same thing for Carlos, the people that are currently treating him
Hmm.
testified in court. And so they often are on some type of medication. They often are receiving therapy. It's often like once a week, but they're often receiving some level of support.
So Carlos actually started May 28th. So all
Oh,
of all
wow.
of June and then most of July. So a good 6 to 7 weeks. So long trial, long
Mhm.
trial. Let me see if I have any. So, Kimbers, if a verdict does come back hung again, what happens to Carlos?
I'm not a
I
lawyer.
Yeah, I know. I personally hope that the state just says let's just do a plea, let's just do a deal here and just call it a day. But we didn't watch jury instruction, so I'm not sure. I think Judge McAdam offered a lesser included, or maybe the defense offered involuntary manslaughter. I think
Okay.
I kind of heard little bits and pieces about that, but not 100% sure about that. Now, let's see. All right. Lindsay. All right, let's touch on Lindsay. 8 jurors have been seated. They're going for 18 jurors. Only because of the length of time. They think it's going to be 6 to 8 weeks. 4 to 6,
Mhm.
I've heard 6 to 8. Um, and they've seated 8, which I'm surprised. In 2 days, they've actually gotten through 8. Based on, I think a lot of people, from what I've been watching and hearing, a lot of people, this is very high profile. I think they're bringing in more prospective jurors than they did for Karen Reed. Um, do you think, do you think 18 is enough? Too many? Well, it can't be. It's not going to be too many. But do you think they could have gone with 14 or 16, or do you think 18 is appropriate?
So, and also they might lose people along the way. So I think
Hmm.
that's why they're saying 18.
Hmm.
Because you wouldn't want to start it all over again. So and also this is a very sensitive trial. Um, uh, this, yeah, I'm not surprised that they're going to seat 18.
Yeah. Now, if you were if you were on the defense or the state, would you want more female? Would you want more male? Would that matter to you? I know you're not a lawyer, but put on
I
your lawyer
know.
hat.
So sometimes women are harder on women. I
Hmm.
don't, but like, because sometimes, or because they're probably going to rule out people that have experienced postpartum depression themselves. Do you know,
Hmm.
like the state is, I don't know, like I would guess the types of questions that they're asking. Um, I don't, I just, I don't know what makeup. So I am not an expert in
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
jury and what would be better or worse. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know.
So JMS has a update. So it's 12 jurors have now been seated. So seven women and five men. So
Yes.
I think as long as you are honest, which you theoretically are supposed to be, and say yes, I can go into this trial and not have any preconceived notions and any biases and all that stuff. I don't think it really matters. But I do agree with you that certain things, like you would identify more if you're male, you might identify more. Or I have four sisters. I kind of identify, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of on the female side, so I can understand that position as well. So
Mhm,
um, I think I think I would be a good juror in one respect, and I'd be a terrible juror on another respect because I watch too much true crime now.
mhm.
um, so let's see. What about Lindsay? I know just really high level stuff, and we kind of have been touching upon it. Um, I know it's almost quarter after. Do you want to just talk a little bit about Lindsay, a few minutes, and then
Sure,
I'll read the verdict. So
sure.
tell me what you think is going on with that.
So I think the defense has a strong case because this is a case where she was trying to get help
Mhm.
versus a case where the person does the thing and then later comes and says, "Oh, I was having these thoughts," and like she was asking for help, she was crying for help, um, and so I don't know where the jury is going to fall. They did change her medications because it was, I think, over like I think it was like a 6 month. It wasn't a long period of time. She
Mhm.
was on multiple because they started on SSRIs and then antipsychotics and mood stabilizers, including I think anxiety medications, and like they just kept throwing meds at it and
Mhm.
not letting. Because I heard a psychiatrist, Dr. Yosef. I encourage the chat to go check out his video. He
Mhm.
is an expert in the medication side, and
Mhm.
he discussed in his video the importance of because sometimes a person can have like a toxicity to the medication that you need to let clear before
Mhm.
you try more meds because they
Right.
just kept throwing more meds on
Mhm.
symptoms,
Yeah.
and maybe her system needed to like let the because SSRIs can take a long time to get in your system and a long time to get out. Every
Mhm.
medication they were trying took a while to get in and a while to get out. And we
Mhm.
don't know like what effect this one is having on this one.
Right.
Her sleep, I don't think was ever stabilized fully, like even with high doses of sleep medication. So I'm thinking trazodone or something like that. She was
Mhm.
still like not able to sleep and still having these intrusive racing thoughts. And I think they were aware that she was having like I think they were aware that there might have been some psychosis, and so
Mhm.
I'm interested in that. Now, those medications can save some people's lives, so I don't
Mhm.
want people to hear that and say, like I think her experience with her, um, that's not what happens to everyone. So the individuals that I've worked with, normally within 1 to 2 medications, they're able to find something that stabilizes their mood. Sometimes when people try to come off of them, sometimes they have negative effects. If anybody ever does stop like an SSRI, you have to do that under medical supervision because you can have withdrawal, you can have side effects if you
Mhm.
just stop it on your own. General information. This is not medical. Like this is just general psychoeducation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So it's almost quarter after.
Yeah.
We do not want to hold you up, so we will do the big unveiling. All right. Drum roll. A California jury acquitted Carlos Reales Dominguez on second degree charges Tuesday, but convicted him of involuntary manslaughter.
Okay.
So they let him go on the second degree, And it was the lesser included that I believe the defense brought in with involuntary manslaughter. So it's the second time a jury's deliberated. Not sure what he is facing. I'm sure
Yeah.
well, I guess he's going to go into a facility at this point. Or
But involuntary
is he?
manslaughter, I think they found him guilty. So
Yeah.
NGR, so they did find him guilty, but I hope that his lawyers, everybody advocates for him to continue to receive medication, to continue to receive support and care. Yeah, that's yeah.
Let's see what the
But I'm not surprised. And also then we'll see what the judge sentences him to. Because I'm guessing for the involuntary, I wonder if there are some different options. I
Mhm.
also wonder if the judge will, in that, maybe um I've never seen a judge do it where, because sometimes a part of probation is staying on your medication, or like
Mhm.
sometimes probation conditions based on like sometimes they decide some of that. But yeah.
So according to California law, it is up to 4 years and a
Okay.
fine of ten thousand
Okay.
dollars. So it could be 2, 3, or 4 years. So it says up to 4 years. I honestly hope that he isn't just let go after that. And then I just think he needs help. He needs help
Mhm.
long term.
Mhm.
I don't think he's going to get that from his family. If he's released 3 years from now, where's he going to go? I honestly don't see his
And
family
so
being.
that's where his because they don't want recidivism. So
Mhm.
recidivism is when people do a crime and they come back to jail.
Right.
And so his social workers, the people there, will hopefully, because he might step down to a halfway house.
Mhm.
But sometimes a halfway house is or I don't know if he'll be eligible, because he might be eligible for certain resources or different
Mhm.
things. And so
Yeah.
um
I
yeah.
mean, maybe his sister, but his sister's only like 15, I
Mm,
mean, and his brother's like 18 or 19. I mean, I hate to say it, his parents, well, his mom didn't testify in either trial. Dad didn't really seem, I mean, he cares about his son, but he also is like, I'm missing work, so I care more about work. I just don't see him going back into a really positive environment with his family, and they're going to be there to take care of him. So sadly, I don't know if that was, I mean, I'm happy that he was found not guilty, but I kind of wish he was just put into a state hospital and,
and
you
I
know,
think he's been because his competency was restored, and I think he was
mhm,
switched over to the holding jail.
mhm,
And
yeah,
now I do hope that they make sure that he's in a place that has, because he might be able to do some school. And
yeah,
because in jail they don't, when they're waiting for trial, they don't have access to the
mhm,
different resources. I have a family
right,
member that was incarcerated and was
mhm,
able to like do anger management. They were able to access like
mhm,
multiple services. They had access to education. And so
mhm,
that's where, if people, there are some facilities that do provide supports.
mhm,
And sometimes people sign up for those so that they don't have to be in their cell. Because you
mhm,
often, if you sign up for a Bible study, or like if you sign up for different things, sometimes it gets you, out of your cell.
yeah,
Um, but I just hope that he understands that he'll need to stay on his medication.
mhm,
And uh because once he's released, it'll be just a prison release and not a mental health release.
right, right. Yeah, I don't know what the next phase is. I guess that's it. Because if he was found guilty of the higher charges, then it would have gone into a penalty phase. So now they found him guilty on the lesser charges. I don't know if they get to deliberate on that, or if it just now
Up to the
goes to the
judge.
judge. Yeah, so we'll find out. So, all right, well, we will let you go. I don't want you to keep your son.
Okay.
Yeah, don't want to keep your son waiting. So, thank you again for joining us. Any last parting words before we let you go?
So thank you again for having me. If you're watching on my channel, please make sure to go over to Trial Live TV and subscribe there. They stream live trials, and I like your recaps. So you recap during lunch. There's a cat camera. So my son just fell in love with cats. Yes, I see. My son, we went to Florida, and my best friend has a cat, and now my kid loves cats. And so
Aw,
there is a cat camera during lunch, and so y'all do a phenomenal job. And I'm so glad that we were able to connect.
awesome.
And I'm sure we'll connect again, maybe towards the end of Clancy, like maybe toward the end.
Absolutely.
And y'all will always see me in chat. Okay, like
Awesome.
normally working on reports, working on notes, but I love getting to hang out with you all.
Awesome. Love the support. And guys, definitely if you're watching on our channel, I know a lot of you have already subscribed, but please take a moment and subscribe Dr. Barry's channel. Absolutely fantastic work that you do over there. Thank you for joining us again. And we will definitely see you in, well, 6 to 8 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, something like that. All right. Awesome. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Bye. All right, you guys. Again, thank you very much, Dr. Barry. Again, very insightful, fantastic opinions, if you will, and insight. I love it. So once again, the big news is that Carlos Reales Dominguez was found not guilty on second degree, but he was found guilty on involuntary manslaughter, and that carries a 2 to 4 year prison in state prison. So he's not going to a mental health facility. He's going to state prison, and then a fine of $10,000. So in Wild Angel, I think you just posted that they're going to start phase 2 tomorrow. All right, second phase starts tomorrow, according to news article. All right, fair enough. We are heavily into Colt and Colin Gray. So as much as Lindsay Clancy is going to be starting, kind of locked in with the Grays right now. So we may be doing some catch up with Lindsay Clancy. So anyway, all right, you guys, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Thank you again, Dr. Barry. Thank you to mods on both channels. Thank you to Aaron for bringing in all kinds of great information. And thank you to chat for educating us on the verdict coming in. So really appreciate that, you guys. With that all being said, have a fantastic evening and join us tomorrow for more coverage of the Colt sentencing, but we're going to be showing Colin Gray's trial tomorrow. All right, guys, have a great one, and we'll see you tomorrow.